Process costing, nature and operations. Process costing is a system of accumulating costs of production by department or cost center. A department is a major functional division in a factory where related manufacturing processes are performed. This accounting system is commonly used by companies where a large number of similar products pass through different departments in a continuous process until completed in the last department, then transferred to finished goods until completed in the last department, then transferred to finished goods inventory. The objective of process costing. The principal objective of process costing is the allocation of manufacturing cost in every department to calculate the unit cost of the product for profit determination and inventory costing purposes. During the production period, some of the units started will not be completed at the end of the period. Therefore, each department must determine the total cost of the units still in process and the cost of the units completed. The comparison of process costs and job order cost system. So the process cost system is used when products are manufactured by mass production, and job order cost system is most suitable when a single product or batch of product is manufactured according to customers' specification. There are also similarities between process costing and job order cost system. As to the manufacturing cost elements, both track and record the three elements of cost: the direct materials, the direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. So, yun yung tinatawag nating the three factors of production: the direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. As to the accumulation of costs, under both costing system, all raw materials purchased are debited to materials account. All direct labor are debited to factory payroll account, and all actual manufacturing overhead costs are debited to manufacturing overhead account. So basically, ay halos pareho lang ang may encounter nating system of recording. As to the accumulation of costs, using the materials account, the direct labor account, we use the factory payroll, and the manufacturing overhead costs using the account manufacturing overhead control. So, as to the flow of costs, the accumulated manufacturing costs are assigned to the same accounts in both costing system: the work in process, the finished goods, and cost of goods sold. So, as we have already encountered in our job order costing part 1 of our cost, we are also using these accounts, the work in process to finished goods and the cost of goods sold. Okay, so these are the differences between the process and job order cost system, the number of work in process account choose. So under the job order cost system, we use the process cost. There is only one work in process account being used in the job order cost system. Whereas in the process cost system, we use the multiple work in process account for each production department. Because in the job order cost system, ang usually ay natatapos ang isang work in only one department. Kaya iisang work in process account lang ang ginagamit natin. However, in the process cost system, bago matapos ang isang product, ay posibleng dumaan siya sa more than 2 departments. Kaya sa bawat department ay merong kanya-kanyang sariling work in process account. Under the job order cost system, total costs are computed when the job is completed. Under the process cost system, total costs are determined at the end of each month while the units are being processed. So, yun yung pagkakaiba. Ibig sabihin, sa job order cost system, hinihintay na matapos ang product bago i-compute kung magkano lahat ang costs related to the finished product. Samantalang sa process cost system, dahil tuloy-tuloy yung flow ng production, every end of the month ay kailangang i-determine agad kung magkano ang cost na incur in the process of production. So, isa yan sa difference nilang dalawa. Under the job order cost system, unit cost is determined by dividing the total cost per job by the units produced. So, it's very simple. Okay, kung magkano yung total cost, yan, total cost, i-divide lang natin sa total na na-produce na units. Then, under the process cost system, ang unit cost ay nakukompute by dividing the total manufacturing cost for the period. No? So, divided by the units produced during the month. So, yun yung pagkakaiba nila. So, period by period, didetermine ang costs na na-incur o na nagastos na para sa continuous process of production. So, this is how the cost is being accumulated using the process cost system by department. Units completed in one department are transferred to the next department accompanied by their corresponding costs. So this accumulation of cost process ay mas maiintindihan nyo kapag tinakil natin mamaya yung illustrative problem. Then, completed units of one department becomes the raw materials of the next department until the units are converted to finished products. The output of Department 1 becomes the inputs of Department 2. Department 2 receives both the units produced in Department 1 as well as its production costs. Upon completion of the process in Department 2, the cost of the units completed consists of the cost received in Department 1 and cost incurred in Department 2. And the cost of a unit increases as it progresses from one department to the assignment of manufacturing costs. Under the normal costing and the difference between the normal costing and the standard costing. So, in the job order costing, direct materials and direct labor are applied at actual cost. So, kung magkano yung actual na nagamit ng direct materials and direct labor, yun ang kinakarga sa ating product costs. While manufacturing overhead is applied at a predetermined rate. So, yun yung tinatawag nating standard cost. Under the process costing, we use the standard costing method, which means the direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead are applied at a standard cost or estimated cost. So, yun ang pagkakaiba ng dalawang method. So, let us continue with the recording or the recording system or the account used when we record the allocation of the three elements of cost in a process cost system. So these are the entry to record the direct materials used by each department. So we debit the work in process department 1, debit the work in process department 2, debit work in process department 3, and credit materials. For the direct labor, the entry to record the distribution of direct labor used by each department, we debit work in process department 1, debit work in process department 2, debit work in process department 3, and credit factory payroll. And to record the manufacturing overhead, using the applied predetermined application rate, we debit work in process department 1, work in process department 2, work in process department 3, and credit applied manufacturing overhead. And the entry to record the cost of units transferred out from department 1 to department 2. We debit work in process department 2 and credit work in process department 1. And from department 2 to department 3, we debit work in process department 3 and credit work in process department 2. So, units are completed in the last department. Assuming this is the last department, department 3, and transferred to stockroom awaiting sale, are recorded as follows. We debit finished goods and credit work in process, department 3. So, we now come to sa job order cost, ang tawag natin dito ay job order cost sheet. In the process cost system, we call it the production report. So, what is a production report? A production report shows the number of units that were in process in the department at the start of the month, the number of units started during the month, the number of units transferred out of the department during the month, the number of units is still in process at the end of the month, and the percentage of completion of the units is still in process at the end of the month. And the cost of production report. The cost of production report summarizes the cost incurred in the department, the average cost per unit of product, the total cost of products completed and transferred out of the department, and the cost related to the evening or to the ending inventory of work in process in each department. So, let us start with the problem illustration of Star Paper Company for us to understand fully the different processes involved in process costing. So, Star Paper Company has three departments. The cutting department that cuts and trims paper to the required dimensions and sizes. Then they have also the second department, the assembly department, that folds the paper and form the boxes. And the third department is called the packaging department. It is in charge to put boxes in a container for storage. So, meron siyang tatlong department. Wait. Costing card in the cutting department, materials, 77,280. Labor, 95,616. And overhead, 156,632. So this is only in the first department. Then, the cutting department, the first department, will make a monthly production report. So, let's say we take January 2014. So, ang kanyang monthly production report will consist of the quantity schedule and the stage of completion of ending work in process. So, hindi kasi lahat ng ipaprocess sa kanyang department ay matatapos lahat. So, meron siyang ending work in process na iba-iba ang stage of completion with regards to the three elements of production, the materials, the labor, and overhead. So, for the quantity schedule ng cutting department, under the monthly production report on January 2014, started in process for the current month, 12,880 units. And transferred out to the next department, 9,120,000 units. And work in process ending ay 3,760. So, if we add this 9,120 and 3,760, we will arrive at the total of 12,880. Ibig sabihin, yung na-start niya for the month na 12,880, na-transfer niya sa second department, sa susunod na department, ang 9,120 na iwan sa kanyang department ang 3,760 units na ang stage of completion ay etong nasa baba. Yan. So, ibig sabihin, out of this work in process ending, materials is 100% completed, labor ay 40% completed, and overhead is 55% completed. So, why do we need this monthly production report? It is needed and necessary para tayo makagawa ng susunod na report. Ang tawag ay equivalent production computation for the cutting department. So, ano naman ang makikita natin sa report ng equivalent production computation? Dito makikita natin what is the equivalent unit of production for each element of production, materials, labor, and overhead. So, for example, sa materials, transferred out to next department, 100% completed na yan sa materials, kaya 9,120. But, yung ending na work in process na 3,760 ay imumultiply natin sa stage of production ng materials, which is 100%. So, we also get 3,760. I-add natin yan sa 9,120. So, the equivalent units for materials ay 12,880. So, ganun din yung gagawin natin sa labor. The transferred out to the next department is 9,120. Then, we compute for the work in process end. We multiply 3,760 by 40%. So, we get 1,504 units. So, we add the 9,120 and 1,504. We get the equivalent production for labor na 10,624. For the overhead computation, again, we transferred out to the next department 9,120, and then we compute for the work in process end 3,760 times 55%. So, gagamitin natin yung lahat ng given information as to the percentage of completion sa bawat element ng production. So, we get 2,068 units. So, we add again the 9,120 and 2,068 to arrive at the equivalent production for overhead of 11,188. So this is the cost of production report for the month of January 2014 for the cutting department. Under the quantity schedule, makikita natin dito ang quantity to be accounted for and saan napunta yung mga units na na-start sa isang department. In the cutting department, the units started in process ay 12,880. So, yan yung na-start sa cutting department. 12,880. So, ang question is, saan napunta ito? So, para siya i-account, yung 9,120 ay napunta sa next department. Next department. Then the work in process end ay 3,760. So, we have totally accounted for the units of 12,880. So, equal siya dapat. And the second part of the cost of production report is the cost schedule. Dito naman tinitingnan or dito natin nilalatag ano-ano yung mga cost na na-encounter sa particular department. In this example, this is the first department. Okay? So for materials, ito yung given information sa atin kanina sa umpisa, no? Materials in this department ay 77,280. Then labor, 95,616. And overhead, 156,632. So, it means the total cost to be accounted would be 329,528. So, paano natin makukompute ang unit cost ng bawat element? We will use the equivalent unit of production. So, yung na-compute natin kanina na equivalent unit of production, yun din ang gagamitin natin dito para natin makuha ang unit cost. So, sa materials, we divide 77,280 by 12,880 equivalent unit of production for materials. And so we get the 6 pesos unit cost. For labor, the total cost encountered or incurred 95,616 divided by the equivalent unit of production for labor, 10,624. So, we will have a unit cost of 9 pesos. For the overhead, 156,632 divided by the equivalent unit of production, computed for overhead, 11,188, we arrive at a unit cost of 14 pesos. So, we add the 6 pesos, the 9 pesos, and 14 pesos. And the unit cost in this department, the cutting department, is 29 pesos. So, ang susunod is, paano natin i-account etong total cost? Okay, saan siya napunta? Ganun ulit yung tanong. Saan napunta yung halagang 329,528? And ito yung kanyang pinuntahan. Ang sabi ay 9,000. So, ito naman ay multiplication ang gagawin natin. Kanina baliktad, no? Kinukuha natin yung unit cost, by dividing the total cost by the equivalent unit of production. Dito naman ay baliktad. Yung equivalent units, yung units na para sa na-transferred out, imumultiply naman natin sa unit cost para mag-arrive tayo sa total cost. So, 9,120, ito yung units na itina-transfer ng cutting department to the next department. So, 9,120 times the unit cost na 29 pesos dahil yan yung na-compute natin dito sa department ng cutting department. So, ang total cost niyan ay 264,480. So, meron tayong single line here na ang ibig sabihin, this is only a subtotal. Meron pa tayong i-add na ibang cost. So, ito yung natapos sa cutting department. Nasaan pa yung ibang cost? Out of 329,528. Naiwan siya sa work in process end. So, hindi na itong transferred out, finished product lang ito ng first department. Pero hindi pa siya overall na finished product sa kabuuan. Okay? So, tinransfer niya lang yan sa susunod na department. So, may natitira pa siyang in process end. And meron itong iba't ibang stage of production. Materials, labor, and overhead. So, nag-compute din tayo ng equivalent unit of production sa work in process kanina. Titingnan nyo na lang sa ano natin, no? Sa computation ng equivalent unit of production. So, ito yung na-compute natin kanina. So, again, the procedure is multiplication. We multiply the equivalent unit of production for materials na 3,760 by 6 pesos. Bakit 6 pesos? Kasi ito yung ating unit cost ng materials that we have computed above. Ito yung 6 pesos na yan. No? So, yan yung 6 pesos. Then, for the labor, we multiply the equivalent unit of production in the work in process end of 1,504 by the unit cost that we have computed here na 9 pesos. So, ito naman yung ating 9 pesos. And then, the overhead of equivalent unit of production of 2,068 times the unit cost of 14 pesos, dito din yan ang galing sa ating previous computation of unit cost. So, ganun yung kanyang relationship. So, you will arrive at the total cost of 22,560, 13,536, and 28,952. So, we get the sum of these three costs. Ito ang sum niya, 65,048. So, pag ipinag-add natin itong 264,480 plus 65,048, we will arrive at a total cost of 329,528. So, you see, na-account natin, okay, so na-account natin na pareho lang, okay, equal yan sila. So, hindi kayo dapat maligaw sa pag-compute ng cost schedule under the cost of production report. Kapag hindi kayo nag-balance, kapag hindi nag-balance itong total cost to be accounted for, yan, dapat yung total cost to be accounted for na yan ay balancing-balance dito sa ating total cost accounted for. Pag may nawawala ka, something is wrong with your computation here, no? Babalikan mo lang, so equal palagi yung dalawang yan. Posibleng magkaroon tayo ng mga differences merely because of differences in what? Differences in rounding. Okay. So, in rounding lang magkakaroon tayo ng problema, no? In rounding of decimals. Okay, so we continue. Nandito na tayo ngayon sa ikalawang department. Siya ang assembly department. So, these are the costs added in the current month. Materials, 21,830. Labor, 82,954. Overhead, 69,856. So, under the Assembly Department, ito ang kanyang production report. For January 2014, transferred in from prior department, 9,120. Transferred out, 8,150, and work in process end, 970. So, again, in this department, pinapakita niya kung saan napunta yung kanyang 9,120. So, the total of 8,150 plus 970. So, yan yung equivalent ng 9,120. And you are given also the stage of completion of the ending work in process. Transferred in cost, 100%. And you will notice that the materials, labor, and overhead have the same stages of completion, 60%. For the three elements ay pare-pareho, no? Pare-pareho sila. 8,732. Dahil pare-parehong 60% ang work in process and percentage of completion. So we move on to the cost of production report. The first part is the cost schedule. Units transferred in from prior department, 9,120. This is how they account for the 9,120. Transferred out to the next department, 8,150, and work in process end, 970. So, you have properly accounted for the 9,120. And this is now the cost schedule. Okay, the cost to be accounted for, this is the cost transferred in, galing ito sa first department. Okay, the 264,480. And this is the equivalent unit of production, 9,120, galing ito sa first department, with a unit cost of 29 pesos. So, these are the given information sa atin kanina a while ago. The cost incurred in the department, 21,830. Again, we use division to get the unit cost. Ang ating divisor, ang equivalent unit of production for the assembly department. So, pare-pareho tayo, no? Dahil nga pare-pareho ang stage of completion, 8,732. Unlike kanina sa first department, na iba-iba ang na-compute nating equivalent o units of production dito sa materials, labor, and overhead. So, we divide each element of cost, 21,830 divided by 8,732. So, we get 250, 2 pesos and 50 centavos. For labor, 82,954 divided by 8, 732, 950. And for overhead, 69,856 divided by 8,732, we get 8 pesos. So, dito sa department, sa assembly department, maliban sa karga-karga ng product na ito, na ipaprocess pa lang sa kanyang second department, meron na siya agad dala-dalang 29 pesos per unit. Ito yon. Madadagdagan pa siya ng how much? 20 pesos. We add 250, 950, and 8 pesos, 20 pesos. So, for this department, ang product na ito ay magkakaroon na ng unit costs, accumulated unit costs na 49 pesos. Dahil sa pagdagdag ng 29 pesos and 20 pesos. So, magiging 49 pesos na ang unit cost niya. With regards to the paano natin na-account yung cost na 264,480. Okay? i-add pa natin dyan yung cost na nadagdag sa department na ito, which is 174,640. So, ang dapat na i-account, so, idadagdag natin yung dalawa na yan. Okay. So, ang ating total cost to be accounted for in the assembly department would be 439,120. At ang unit cost niya ay 49 pesos. So, paano siya i-account? 439,120. So, ito yung kanyang cost accounted for. So, na-transferred out daw yung 8,150 units. Again, multiply natin sa 49 pesos. We arrive at 399,350. Then, i-take note natin kung ano yung kanyang cost na naiwan sa work in process in. So, ang ating cost transferred in, yung 970 na galing sa kabilang department, no? At 970 units, ito yung work in process, no? Ibig sabihin, yung 970 na work in process units na 970 na hindi natapos sa assembly department, meron na agad siyang laman na 29 pesos. Okay? Kasi kanina, itong 970 ay kasama yan sa 9,000. Itong dalawa na ito, yan ay 9,120. Okay, 120. Pero ang na-transfer niya lang sa ikatlong department ay 8,150. Meron siyang naiwan sa work in process na 970. So, therefore, yung 970 na work in process, meron din siyang laman na 29 pesos. So, ang total cost niyan ay 28,130. Okay, ito namang sa department ng assembly, ito yung sarili niyang work in process. So, gagamitin natin ang na-compute nating equivalent unit of production for the work in process of assembly department or the second department. Mumultiply natin sa na-compute nating unit cost kanina in this department na 250, 950, and 8 pesos. So, ito ang ma-arrive nating mga total cost for materials, labor, and overhead. So, cost incurred in this department para sa kanyang work in process ay 39,770. So, pag dinagdag natin itong another part ng kanyang work in process, 28,130 plus the 39,770. Okay? So, yan yung, we add the 28,130 plus 1,455, 5,529, 4,656. So, ang total work in process natin ay 39,770. So, pag pinagsama natin ang 399, 350 plus 39,000, ayan, pag pinagdagdag natin yan, ang ma-arrive natin ay total cost accounted for na 439,120. Yun yung ating ina-account na total cost. So, that is for the assembly department. So, para naman sa packaging department, ito naman ang kanyang na-incur na cost for the current month. 2,172, 24,492, and labor overhead na 14,596. Again, gagawa ang packaging department ng monthly production report. Transferred in from prior department, from second department ito. Okay, na-transfer, dahil last department na siya, ito daw yung kanyang na-transfer sa finished goods, 5,430, and work in process end, 2,720. So again, pag pinagdagdag natin tong dalawa na ito, 5,430 plus 2,720, ito yung kanyang kabuoang transferred in from prior department, 8,150. And these are the stage of completion for the ending work in process of our packaging department. Transferred out 100%, 0% sa materials, 20% sa labor, and overhead 15%. Then these are the equivalent production of computation for the packaging department. So for materials, 5,430 kasi zero na yung work in process ng materials. For labor, 5,430 plus the equivalent unit of production in the ending in process. So we will multiply 2,720 by 20%. So 544 plus 5,430, the equivalent units for labor is 5,974. And for the overhead, transferred out to finished goods, 5,430, and the work in process end, again, we multiply 2,720 by 15%. So 408. So ito ang ating mga equivalent unit of production for materials, labor, and overhead. So pupunta na tayo sa cost of production report ng last department. Transferred in 8,150. So, in-account siya as natapos ang 5,430, naiwan sa ending ang 2,720. So, na-account niya ang total cost, total units na 8,150. And this is our cost schedule. Ang transferred in ay 8,150 units. Okay, so ang kanyang cost ay 49 pesos. So that is the total of 399,350. So we can divide 399,350 by the total units of 8,150, and our cost per unit ay 49 pesos. Galing yan sa second department. In this department, ito naman daw yung na-incur na cost, no? Given kanina yan. So, we will just divide it with the computed equivalent unit of production for materials. So, ang ating unit cost ay 0.40 centavos. For labor, 24,492 divided by equivalent unit of production for labor, 5,974. Our unit cost is 4 pesos and 10. And for the overhead, 14,596 divided by 5,838. Our unit cost is 2.50. So, in this department, nadagdagan na naman siya ng 7 pesos. Kaya, ang magiging total unit cost natin would be 56 pesos. So, ang total cost to be accounted for ay ang cost na na-transferred na nagkakahalaga ng 399,350 plus the cost na naiwan sa ating work in process end. The cost na tinransfer ng department ng packaging. So, the total cost to be accounted for ay 440,610. So, we add this one and this one. And these are the cost accounted for. Yung 440,610. Na-transferred out natin yung 5,430 units with the unit cost of 56 pesos. So, if you multiply 5,430 by 56, you get 304,080. Then, may naiwang cost sa in-process end. Okay, ito yung naiwan sa kanyang ending na 2,720 units, pero may unit cost na siyang 49 pesos. Okay, so that's 133,280. We add the cost incurred in this department. Sa materials, wala na. Zero na kasi ang ating percent of completion. Sa labor, ito yung ating na-compute na equivalent units sa work in process. Multiply by the unit cost of 4 pesos and 10, you get 2,230. Sa overhead, 408 units, equivalent units of production in the ending work in process, multiply by the unit cost na 250, ang overhead natin sa work in process is 1,020. So we add 133,280 plus 2,230 plus 1,020. Ang total work in process natin would be 136,530. So pag pinagsama natin itong dalawa na to, ang ating na-account na total cost, which is our cost accounted for 440,610. So this is now that is the end of our costs in the 3 departments. So ito ngayon yung recording phase. Paano natin i-record yung ating cost incurred? In the cutting department, we debit work in process 329,528. We credit materials 77,280. Factory payroll, ito yung labor 95,616, and the applied manufacturing overhead. Sa assembly department naman, we debit work in process 264,480. Work in process in cutting department credit 264,480. So, ang guide natin sa pagre-record ng cost ay ang cost of production report. And to record the cost added in the assembly department, debit work in process assembly department 174,640, credits natin ng materials, factory overhead, and applied manufacturing overhead. And to record the cost of units completed and transferred to the packaging department, we debit work in process packaging department 399,350 and credit work in process assembly department. And then to record added in the current month, work in process packaging department 41,260, credit natin ng materials, factory payroll, and applied manufacturing overhead. And this sixth entry is our entry for the finished goods. So these are now the comparison, no? Makikita nyo dito yung mga summary ng na-incur na cost sa cutting, assembly, and packaging departments sa materials, labor, and overhead. So, mas madaling makita kung ilan yung kanilang na-transfer na cost from cutting to assembly. For example, sa cutting, na-incur niya ang total cost na 329,528, na-transfer niya sa assembly department ang 264,480, naiwan sa kanyang work in process ang 65,048. So, pag dinagdag natin tong dalawang ito, the total is 329,528. Sa assembly naman, okay, out of 174,640 na nadagdag sa kanyang current cost, idadagdag natin yung tinransfer ng cutting na 264,480. Then, na-out niya naman yung halagang 399,350. Tinransfer niya naman, pinasa niya sa packaging department. Naiwan sa kanyang cost ng work in process ang 39,770. So, sa packaging naman, meron siyang sariling cost na 41,260 for the current month, plus yung galing sa assembly na 399,350, pero na-transfer niya naman sa finished goods ang halagang 304,080. So, may naiwan din siya sa kanyang work in process end na 136,530. So, that is the end of the first chapter in our process costing. Okay, so this is supposedly your assignment. I just do not know kung nagtali tayo doon sa message ko sa inyo. If hindi tayo nagtali, I just disregard these problems.